The American economy is booming. New numbers show gross domestic product expanded at a strong pace in the third quarter. President Trump praising tariffs for the record numbers. This is the Faulkner Focus. I'm Mike Emanuel in for Harris. The U.S. economy is gaining plenty of momentum. New consumer data reveals a surge in spending from this past July to September. GDP hit an annual rate of 4.3% in the third quarter, the highest in 2 years. President Trump can add to his collection of economic wins, which also includes less inflation, higher wages, low gas prices, and more. Here's National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett with a preview of next year's financial outlook.
Everywhere you look, it's like, oh, it's a completely surprising north of 4% number. But the point is that President Trump's policies are working, and they're very visibly working now because we've seen the data. But the question for Americans is, like, how do you think about what's going on next? What about next year? And the bottom line is we've got everything lined up to have a great year, a golden age for America.
Optimism is clearly in the air at the White House. Here's President Trump touting his recent string of economic wins.
Look, we have $18 trillion coming into our country. We have, I believe, we're going to have the most successful economy in history. Now we have the greatest country in the world. I'm telling you, hottest. We're the hottest.
There are those that say we were a country that was really not going to make it. And they were saying we were not going to make it. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. They're all saying it.
Let's bring in Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, the original Jersey Mike. Merry Christmas Eve. How are you?
Jersey Joe, Merry Christmas to you. You have said that Democrats will have a big problem if President Trump delivers on the economy. Would you explain that?
Sure. I mean, when you think about just back in April, Mike, early April, when we were hearing forecasts from Democrats, from some in the media as well, many in the media, saying that we were headed towards a recession, that the tariff war would ultimately have a profound negative impact on GDP. And now you just showed what's happening now, 4.3% growth last quarter. That dwarfs what we saw during the Biden administration in his final 2 years, 2023, 2024, as you can see from that chart. And you're seeing more and more economists now show, you used the word before, optimism for 2026, since the Trump tax cuts are going to be felt by so many Americans. That's because that what was in the big, beautiful bill, and that kicks in 2026. We're also going to see no taxes on tips for the first time in 2026. Drill, baby, drill has resulted in gas prices being at a 5-year low. Mike, in fact, in some states like Colorado, Texas, Tennessee, the average cost for a gallon of gas is well below $2 today. So the top line takeaway here is that those who predicted that the tariffs would throw the economy into a recession and result in negative growth and higher costs and everything, including gasoline, they were patently wrong. And if this economy continues to grow the way it is, I want to know what Democrats are going to run on in November of 2026 when they oppose this economic message, and now it appears to be working.
All right, you're off to a fast start. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, I want to play a clip from him on how Americans are feeling about our economy, and I'll get you to react.
What we are not going to do is which is what the Biden administration did, and many commentators, whether it was Greg Ip in the Wall Street Journal, the toxic Paul Krugman, who seems to have been booted from the New York Times and is relegated to Substack, or the former vice chair of the Fed, Alan Blinder, and they said, oh, no, you don't understand how good you have it. You know, drink your grog, have your bread, peasants.
So perhaps the Trump team's taken a lesson learned from the Biden team and saying nothing to see here, which is what the Biden team did.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? That when we hear about Democrats, Mike, talk about how they can bring affordability back to the American people, it has to be objectively said that during the 4 years of the Biden administration, first they told us that inflation was transitory. Then they said it was the Putin price hike. You may remember that from Jen Psaki. Yep. And then just blamed everything, including the American people not understanding how good they have it, until they finally acknowledged that they had a problem. So Republicans, when they run in 2026 in terms of these House races, should remind voters that Well, these were the same people that voted, all of them, for the Inflation Reduction Act under Joe Biden, which did nothing to lower inflation. They tried to spend their way out of a problem and throw money at it, and that obviously resulted in the mess that Donald Trump has inherited, but now appears to be fixing. So, yeah, that's the whole ballgame right now. Republicans have to go on the offensive, and we're already seeing it in the past 2 weeks with President Trump doing rallies and his economic team, like Scott Bessent, who you could call the MVP of this administration right now, going on the air and calling out the people who are wrong, including Paul Krugman, who said there'd be a global recession when Donald Trump was elected back in 2017. Obviously, that did not happen, like so many predictions that Paul Krugman has made over the years.
Conventional wisdom here in Washington is that Republicans will lose the House, but if the economy is doing well, conventional wisdom goes out the window, Joe?
Well, that's the whole thing, right? It's hard to win midterm elections when you're the party in power. It very rarely happens. And in this case, Republicans have exactly something like a 1-vote margin in the House, with Thomas Massie basically being a part of the squad and voting no on every Republican issue. So, yeah, is the chances that Democrats will take back the House good? Yes, but it used to look like it was a slam dunk just a couple of months ago when the tariffs were first kicking in. Now you could call it a 50-50 shot, because if the economy is good and we have peace and prosperity, especially with all these foreign wars ending and Donald Trump looking strong in terms of taking out Iran's nuclear capabilities, it's going to be hard to find a way to vote against what this administration and Republicans have been doing if things are going well. So Republicans have now given themselves a puncher's chance as a result of the economy doing well. But the next 10 months, that's what's going to decide it. If the economy goes in the right direction, they could hold the House, hold the Senate. If it doesn't, then you're looking at a clean sweep and Democrats having Donald Trump in impeachment hearings in perpetuity under House Speaker Jeff Friesen.
Then there's former Vice President Kamala Harris turning up on yet another podcast, this time suggesting that people who criticize her distinctive cackle are being sexist.
I don't aspire to be humble. Humility, yes, is very important. But when you are sending signals, and it's very dated, if not just traditional, but a very dated perspective on who women should be, to say women should be humble, women should be quiet, women should laugh quietly.
I don't know. A lot of people think being humble, having a little humility is a good thing, men or women. What about that?
Well, I agree with that part, right? But Kamala Harris, Mike, she's really excelled in one area, and that's playing the victim on everything. I mean, this is the same person who said that her loss in 2019, 2024 was due to sexist and racist voters who could not accept a woman of color being in a position of power as far as president, when maybe she just was a profoundly horrible candidate with a profoundly horrible campaign team. I mean, she's the one who flip-flopped on almost every position that she held from 5 years ago last year. She's the one who decided not to go to the Al Smith dinner when the Catholic vote is so important. She's the one who decided not to go on Joe Rogan because her team was afraid she couldn't handle a 30-minute interview, let alone a 3-hour interview. And she's the one who shows Tim Walz, of all people, to be her running mate, who, by almost everybody's estimation, was not a net positive for that campaign. So she says now mocking her cackle is sexist. Well, it's an observation many have made about somebody who laughs at their own jokes when no one else is laughing. It's distracting. Most people find it profoundly annoying. And the fact that Kamala Harris is now giving out dating advice, considering she chose Doug Emhoff as her husband, who reportedly got physical with one of his previous girlfriends, to her own word, well, that's the height of irony. So I don't know. Kamala is on the air a lot, doing a lot of interviews, Mike. The book tour should have been over a long time ago. This absolutely signals that she will run for president in 2028. And for the GOP, that's about the earliest Christmas gift they possibly could ever get, because she lost every swing state popular vote, and the Senate was taken back by the Republicans, and they held the House. So a clean sweep there. And there's no reason to believe that she'll do any better this time around, because when she speaks outside of a teleprompter, she becomes a human Chernobyl.
So you're saying we'll hear the cackle much more. Joe Concha, thanks very much. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.